if you have some sort of limiting belief in your way, or something you're doing, or something you're involved with that's not right, life will give you pain to nudge you to go on the right track, to make a change. And in my experience, because I'm hard-headed, I often won't listen. So what will life do? Give me more pain. And say, okay, you didn't want to listen before, like now this. And often when I look at my biggest breakthroughs and my biggest successes in life, both on the horizontal concrete way and internally, they all come from moments of extreme pain.
Mike Posner, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
In September of 2019, I would listen to Keep Going, the entire album, in full. You said it was 52 minutes, but the runtime actually is only 46 minutes and 36 seconds, I believe.
Hey.
But I would listen to that over and over and over again in a depressed state, because that was the thing, that was the soundtrack that helped get me to a brighter reality. That was the soundtrack that I used that allowed me to elevate my consciousness in that moment. And that was a soundtrack I played when I started meditating for the first time. And that was a soundtrack I played when I did my workouts for doing 75 hard for the first time. And is your voice, your music, that really helped be the baseline for me to enter into a new reality. So for that, I just want to say thank you. And I'm really grateful for your impact on my life.
Thank you for that reflection, and I received that. And that piece was something I made, as you know, for myself when I was trying to do something really challenging. And I made it in advance for myself for when I knew times were going to be really tough. So to hear that it touched you in a challenging time for yourself and helped you transition out of that time from darkness or depression to light and enthusiasm, this ball of energy you are now, it makes me feel very seen and fulfilled, and like my work matters. So thank you for reflecting that to me.
My pleasure, man. When I say that to you about this was the piece that I can point to that helped bring me from darkness to light, what comes to mind for you for those foundational pieces of work that help bring you from darkness to light?
Yeah, it's a great question, because that's immediately where my mind goes, because I know exactly how you feel, because I've had other pieces of art and music do the same for me. Most recently, the song that has just cracked me open to a new level spiritually is called The Blessing. It's a live recording from a church in North Carolina. And the singers are Carrie Job, and I'm forgetting the other singer's name. And actually the YouTube version of it is longer than the Spotify version. Is better. And I listen to it at least 3 times a day. And it's essentially the lyrics of the song are just from scripture. And it's essentially the singers just praying for you, the listener. And you can try to get into a state of receiving. And man, that song is really, I was already in a good place when I heard it, but it's just cracked my relationship open with my higher power to another level. And I listen to it every day, usually minimum 3 times. Yeah.
What happens there?
I mean, that's the $1 billion question. I think when we artists of any medium are doing our job, we're connecting to the place where those ideas, those melodies, those words come from. And this is an idea that I'm sure you've heard before, but it's really true. The place where those ideas come from is actually not you. It's, you know, the infinite or the higher power. I call that God. And so, you know, you give me feedback from from your experience listening to my music. I take, I guess, credit, but I also don't, because like, do I get credit for the ideas that come in my own head? I didn't make that idea come in my head. So we connect to this higher power, and you hear the word channel a lot. Real writers and artists, and all of us are artists in we're the artists of our own lives, are channeling this inspiration, this divine energy. And our job is to let that come through in as pure a way, and not let our own mind, our own preferences sully that transmission. And when it comes through, and essentially what we're saying is, gosh, like, this is what it's like for me to be human. And you send it out in the world, and is it like that for anyone else? And a lot of times it reaches a listener whom feels very alone in their experience of being human. And sometimes our feelings, our experience of life is very hard to articulate, and we have a feeling of being alone, like we're on the journey solo. But you hear that piece of art, or you look at that painting, or you read that passage, and wow, someone gets it. I'm not alone. And that's what I think happens when we hear those songs. Or, you know, when you hear that album of mine, or I hear that song by Carrie, or that's what I think happens. And the beautiful thing is, like, it's so, the experience of making art is so transcendent. And I choose that word deliberately, because music and other mediums too, they transcend both time and space. So when I recorded Keep Going, I recorded that in my present moment. It was a snapshot of me then, me in a right now. I recorded Keep Going. And I recorded it mostly in Los Angeles. You heard Keep Going in your own right now moment. So it went from now to now. Okay. And also it went from LA to wherever you were.
San Diego.
So the music and art can transcend both time and space in that way. And I think about this often, because I know some of the people that the pieces will touch haven't been born yet. And so I'm blessed. You know, you think about what your job is. I'm in a lineage, right? Because like you, growing up, I have my own experiences. There was a song I listened to in high school when I was very depressed. And there was a CD, it was back at the time of CDs. It was an AP Physics, and it was a loose CD on the, like, in the classroom that someone had lost. And I looked at it for a day, 2 days, no one picked it up. And after like 3 or 4 days, I took it. And it was before Shazam, all this stuff. And there was a song in there, number 4. I don't really remember how it went, but I remember it just, I felt like my depression was this old moldy house with all the windows closed and the doors were locked, and I was stuck in there. And when I played track 4, it was like someone opened the window. And now I get to create things that have a similar effect for other humans. And so it's just, I feel very blessed. You know, what a job. Not a job. What a mission, calling.
Special, man. It's really special. How do you get better as the artist at tapping in to the presence of the transcendent?
Well, Quincy Jones has a great line. He says, you know, the deeper the human you are, the deeper the musician you are.
The deeper the human, the deeper the song.
What do I say after that? The dream isn't gone. I saw all of this 2 years ago. It's almost like it was me reading my poem. Yeah.
This brings me so much joy. I just have to say.
Let's go. Yeah. The crazy thing is also, I'm human, right? So I don't know any humans, especially artists, that just go on a trajectory like this in life. There are ebbs and flows. And in my periods of challenge, often the music I turn to now is written by an artist named Mike Posner. And so I'll turn on Come Home or Noah's Ark. And it's like, dude, because you know the difference between knowing the answers and knowing the answers. And so sometimes I wrote the words, but I still have to remind myself. So that's another fun one when that happens. You're like, dude,
this guy is smart.
Yeah, it's like, listen, bro, you wrote it. Like, remember? So I remember having this experience of hearing Redemption Song by Bob Marley in my early 20s. I'm 35 now. In my early 20s. And I heard Redemption Song, and it just can stop me in my tracks, because the song was so deep and just about everything, and about struggle and God and transcendence and life and love and loss, everything, and pain. And it was all blended perfectly in this wonderful piece of art. And it's still one of my favorite songs. And I remember thinking, like, why have I not written anything this beautiful yet? You know, like, you know, in my early 20s, I got a couple albums out. And I realized every lyric that Bob wrote on that song, every word in those lyrics was in my vocabulary. And every chord that he played, I knew how to play. And every note that he hit, I could hit with my voice. But I wasn't the man that could write a song like that yet. So you enter in life. And I had a wonderful teacher who passed on, Norman Henry Mamie. He was started my piano teacher and became like a father and taught me theory and all, music theory. And something we'd sit on a piano bench next to each other. He'd have a chair next to mine. And he'd say, everything out here goes in here, pointing to the piano. And so, you know, this is like some of the exploration, you know, that I've done outside of music is music. And I said on the New Mansions album, I say, you know, countries are wide, mountains are tall, but the man that I become's my best album of all. And to me, To Walk Across America was an album, and, you know, Mount Everest was an album, and they all changed my music in all these different kind of ways. So, you have to practice like your guitar and your craft, but you also have to grow outside of the studio. And that's just been a part of my journey. And, you know, there's deep practices that I'm sure you're into. I know you meditate. I meditate. The breath work, the ice bath, psychedelics. You know, there's so many ways to connect or tap in, or just following your breath, or just being present, walking. I was 18 in an AP Lit class, Miss Mundy. and we read, what was the Virginia Woolf book? We'll have to look it up later. A book by Virginia Woolf with the character Septimus. Not the hour. Is it the Hours? Maybe, but Virginia Woolf was one of the first writers to write stream of consciousness. So it's like James Joyce, Virginia Woolf. Stream of consciousness never existed. Books had a narrative and they told a story, and these people wrote the way a human mind works, which, as you know, is pretty wild sometimes. And so they put on the page, the sentence is read the way thoughts occur in the mind. And Virginia Woolf, in her book, she had these things called moments of being, which is like a moment where everything just makes sense. You're just there, right? And I'm sure you could think of a few you've had right now. Everyone's had them.
Right now.
Amazing. Tapped in. And all your listeners, it was like a moment where just everything makes sense and you're just there. So everyone's had moments like this. Virginia Woolf called those moments of being. So really what you're asking me is, how do you have more moments of being? And for sure, there are things you can do. In some ways, my whole life's been about that question. And I found a lot of practices that prime one to have more moments of being. And, I mentioned some of them just now, meditation, breath work, presence, music, worship, cold water. The list goes on. But yeah, there are definitely some ways to prime the pump. Diet, right? We eat like a really heavy diet or foods that are kind of clogging us up. I'm not like a nutritionist, but anecdotally I've noticed, hey man, like when I eat that thing, like I just feel heavy and tired afterward. It don't feel like a moment of being, And so I think all that stuff, sauna, all this stuff, like walking on the earth barefoot, is gives us the chance to have more of those.
So there's obviously a famous moment of you meeting Ram Dass that I've mentioned many times on this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And it's seemingly in that moment where you were like, oh, this stuff that I've been thinking about, the moments of being that I've been experiencing, that's real. And you can actually build up to that state. But I'm also curious about like, what happened before? How did you stumble into meditation? How did you stumble into all of this, the pursuit of moments of being before Ram Dass and before that meeting?
Yeah. I grew up what was called a secular humanist Jew. Mm-hmm. So God was not a part of or spirituality in any way wasn't a part of my upbringing. And if you ask my parents about that, they said, yeah, we just didn't want to push a religion on our kids. They said, we wanted it to just leave it open. When you're an adult, you can pick your religion. So I grew up, we went to like Sunday school and we'd learn music, we'd learn language, we'd learn history about Jewish people. But there was no spirituality part of my life. I would say I was just a materialist. And also I had a lot of trouble. I had a lot of darkness, a lot of depression. High school was really hard for me. And you can hear that in all my music, like I'm somebody who knows pain. I know what it's like to wake up and feel like there's no reason to get up, or it just feels like a big slog, and why? And there's no point. I somewhat live my life from this perspective with like some moments of being piercing through those at times, but it wasn't until I had some success in music. I had my first hit, and I came up in Detroit under Big Sean. who's an incredible artist, and Big Sean actually got a record deal before me, and we were just friends in Detroit. And Sean was discovered by Kanye, and he signed a record deal. And I went to college, and I was sending him beats and all stuff. And for whatever reason, like, Sean's career didn't move. He got the record deal, but nothing, like, it stagnated for years. It was like 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. And then actually my career started to take off, and he helped me start my career. I'll be very clear about that. But things in his career, like, really were not going the direction we all thought they were going to the point where the rumor was he was close to being dropped from his label. And then, like, almost miraculously, his music, like, really just, and his artistry just leveled up. His career did a 180 and started to take off. And then he had his first hit song with Chris Brown. More than all those things, like, so I saw his career started to do well. But more than that, I saw him. And by this time, I had my own success, and we went to the studio. And he was just, like, glowing. Yeah. He was just glowing. And I thought, like, what? I think, I mean, you'll relate to this, and everyone listening to you, where he was just someone you were around, and then when you left, you felt better. And so I think everyone's had that experience. But he was just really vibrating at a high frequency. And so much so that, like, after I'd go home from the studio, like, I'd still feel like, whoa.
Wait, so you had a similar feeling from talking to Big Sean as you did Rob Doss?
Yeah, for sure.
Wow.
For sure. And the Sean one was first. So I asked him, I was like, dude, what are you doing? Like, clearly your career has turned around. But also, like, it's just, and mind you, like, I'm not a spiritual guy at all at this. I'm like, but it feels awesome being around you. Like, he's like, you got to read these 2 books. And I wrote down my phone, The Alchemist. And the second book was Ask and It Is Given by Esther and Jerry Hicks. And so it was really his being, his example, that opened me to reading these texts with an open mind. I was like, just like, dude, it's working for him. Like, I'll take some of that. You know what I mean? So I read those texts with a different frame. Then if I had picked those books up a week before that, I would have just been like, this is stupid. You know what I mean? It wouldn't have connected with me at all. But that started me on my path. And that's how I started getting into. There was the introduction to Ask and It Is Given was written by Wayne Dyer, and he wrote, "When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change." And I thought, whoa! It just really hit me at that time, and that was my entry point. Was Big Sean?
Wow.
Yeah, and so I always say Sean changed my life twice in two really major ways. The first one was I met him and he got a record deal. And I didn't know we could do that. Like, I knew that happened in people's lives, but that just seemed like a 1 in a billion thing to, like, become a professional recording artist. I already knew, like, I was going to have a lifelong relationship with music, but I thought I was going to have, like, a desk job for a record label and I would go home and make beats. Then I met Sean, and he's like, he was the same age as me. We're from the same city. Like, I felt like we had comparable skill levels. And then he's like, no, I'm gonna get a record deal. And he did. So I'm like, cool, I can definitely do that too. And as you know, once I started to believe it, it happened, like, quick. I'm talking 8 months.
Wow.
So he changed my life like that. And then the second time was spiritually, he started me on my whole path. And it's not like he held my hand or whatever. He's just like, he was the light. Read these books. go. That was it.
What were some of the first signs for you that you were starting to act as the light?
Oh, just how you feel. I mean, you know, these practices, the reward is often immediate, right? It's like the reward for meditating is how you feel when you meditate. And the reward for doing a cold plunge is how you feel after the cold plunge. So like the body and the nervous system and the heart and the mind are reaffirming you every step of the way. Like, yes, you know what feels good. And so why would you stop doing something that is enhancing your moment-to-moment experience of life? Right? So there's two ways to measure progress. One is like the outside. Like I was looking at Sean and his career is doing better. He's selling more record stuff. You're making more money. I was saying, okay, I mean, it's great to progress in all areas, like in the areas of relationship. Okay, I was single. Now I have a partner. Now I'm married, right? That's like concrete progression you can look at. But then there's another metric of success that's sort of like, if those things are horizontal in the horizontal plane, it's like the vertical plane of depth and savoring of every moment. All right. And like I have a line in my poem, I believe it's like, perhaps I showed up too soon. I believe you can be happy in December just like you can be sad in June. And so some of these all these practices, right? They increase my level of enjoyment moment to moment, like in the now. And does that equate to more success in different areas of life? I believe for sure, yes. I've lived for sure, yes. But there's an immediate success. Those things take time. But there's an immediate success, you know, that lets you know you're on the path.
I'll never forget.
Life is, sorry to interrupt, but it goes the other way. Yes. You know, it's like pain is also an incredible teacher. You know, like if you have some sort of limiting belief in your way, or something you're doing, or something you're involved with that's not right, life will give you pain to nudge you to go on the right track, to make a change. And in my experience, because I'm hard-headed, I often won't listen. So what will life do? Give me more pain. And say, okay, you didn't want to listen before, like now this. And often when I look at my biggest breakthroughs and my biggest successes in life, both on the horizontal concrete way and internally, they all come from moments of extreme pain. You know? What type of guy chooses to walk 2,800 miles, right? Like, there was pain there. There was so much disillusionment with my life, so much dissatisfaction, that I knew I needed to do something else, and I knew I needed to put something in my life that inspired me. So, you know, life, as great as we have access to so many teachers now. I referenced those books that impacted me. We've talked about Ram Dass. For other people, I am a teacher, right? I'm a student, I am a teacher. But none of these teachers are more profound, more tailor-made than life itself, right? And so we have to learn to listen to and learn from life.
I often say, turn off the podcast, listen to yourself.
Yes, bro.
And it's like, you can listen to us or hear us for inspiration or advice, but the real lessons you're going to learn are from life, and the real lessons you're going to learn are from you tapping into yourself to figure out where that pain is directing you in this moment.
Yeah.
So I had a profound experience at church about a month and a half, 2 months ago.
Hey.
And, I realized yesterday how related it was to you, of course. So I'm sitting at church, and I've only been to church like maybe 2 times in my life.
This is crazy, bro. This is great. I'll tell you why.
Of course. It's all connected. So I'm sitting at church, and I'm deep in the music.
You can't write this stuff.
I mean, this is life. Life is always unfolding exactly as it is supposed to. Okay, so quick story. So I'm sitting at church, second row. I'm getting into music. It's all great. I'm sitting at church, and the pastor says, at the end of the sermon, after all the speech, after everything, he says, I want you to ask someone you love, if I pray for you, what should I pray for? And Mike, I start bawling for 15 minutes straight.
I bet.
And I say, oh my God, I've been so selfish. I haven't asked my mom this. I haven't asked my dad this. I haven't asked my brother, my family, my grandparents. What is wrong? My friends? Oh my God. So the selfishness of not doing it, like, just impacted me at such a deep level. And then the gratitude of like, oh, I get to do this for the next 70 years? Like, what a blessing.
Yeah.
And then I'm thinking about this experience yesterday, and I'm like, oh my God, this is the question that Mike asked people on his journey across America. What are the odds of that?
Yeah.
So that was my experience.
That's okay. First of all, I want to shout out Chaplain Kevin, because he taught me that question.
Wow.
Chaplain Kevin, I sat with him before I started the walk across America. And one of my intentions was to listen deeply. And Chaplain Kevin is a hospice chaplain. So he works with people who are transitioning to death and their families. And he was giving me this like master class on how to listen, because I knew I was going to meet these people and I wanted to learn. I'm on this walk across America. And we're going an hour, 2 hours, and he tells me all this stuff. And then he goes, and if none of that works, just ask, if I pray for you, what should I pray for? So I, like you referenced, on my walk, I asked people that like the whole way. But that was crazy because as I grew up Jewish, like you said, and then I told you about the song, The Blessing, that cracked me open. And I'm like, I felt just really called to be around music like that, because it was really propelling me on my spiritual path. And Dan, our mutual friend, took me to church at Mosaic like a month and a half ago.
Could it have been the same day?
It maybe.
I mean,
we'll check after.
We'll check.
But it's similar timeline. And same thing, bro. Like, I go and they're doing the music and it's the same kind. And I start crying, because the music. And so
What?
And so like the last 2 weekends I've gone back to church and I'm like, this is crazy. Like, I'm not Christian, you know what I mean? But I'm going, because it's working. So I've been going to church. When you said, I've gone to church like 2 times. I've gone 3 times. And I'm like, you can't write this stuff, bro.
What is that?
That's God. And this is what I'm learning. This is normal.
Yes.
So a good way to shut this kind of beauty and these small miracles and then big miracles off is to go, I can't believe this.
This is unbelievable.
This is unbelievable. This is crazy. No, it's not crazy.
This is life.
This is life. This is how it's supposed to be. And I just started a journal in my phone, Synchronicity log, where I'm just writing all these down. To remember, like, there've been so many of them have been happening lately. I mean, they're always happening, but I've just been noticing them, So this is the rhythm and the force of life. Like, this is the force that grows the trees, that beats our heart, that grows our fingernails. We're not doing that with our minds. That same force is active in our life story. And so, as much as the sun coming up and the clouds and all that stuff is just a miracle. Like it doesn't make sense that it's happening. Our lives are a product of the same thing. The same force is moving through our lives. And so of course those things are lining up for us, you know? And it's just beautiful watching it unfold and getting out of the way of it. You know?
If someone wants to feel that more in their life, where should they begin?
They should begin loving themselves more. There's a thing I saw recently. I forget the author. I definitely didn't write it. It's 5 A's. Acknowledge, accept. Do you know this?
No.
Acknowledge, accept, appreciate, affection, allow. Okay, so I've read that and I said, oh, how would I adapt that to myself? Because I'm somebody who had developed a habit of being really hard on myself. And if people say, do you love yourself? I say, yeah, man, I get massages for myself. I give myself a walk, you know what I mean? But if I looked at my actual self-talk, it's pretty darn nasty sometimes. And look, there's a time and place for that. You know, if I'm hitting the heavy bag or when I'm on the walk, like I'll go full Goggins and there's a time for that. But you don't want it, for me, I don't want to be stuck in that 24/7. So the 5 A's. Number 1 is acknowledge, but I say it just means see. So you look in the mirror in the morning and you start off, you just say, I see you. I see you. And often there's a shift just in that first one. And these move sequentially. So you have to be able to do the first before you can do the second. So you feel you actually see yourself. Like the way the person that loves you the most sees you. The way your mother or your father see yourself that way. Or I'll ask, how does God see me? See, I see, say, look in the mirror, say, I see you. Then when you can see yourself, you move to number 2. I accept you. And often, if you really have seen yourself, number 2 is actually pretty easy. Because what you actually see is a miraculous being, a child of God. Like, whoever you are listening to this, like, you are a miracle, you know. Have you made mistakes? Yes, we all have. But you are a living, breathing miracle compared to, like, all the creatures walking this earth. Your body, your mind, your soul you are here. You are a miracle. You're a miraculous being. So if you really see yourself, you move to number 2, I accept myself. Okay, that gets a little easier. I accept you. I see you. I accept you. Then the third one is I appreciate you. Now we're building momentum. I see you. You know, I do this every morning. I look in the mirror, and sometimes I start crying right away.
What's behind those tears?
I think, like you said, the delta of not seeing the beauty. I hesitate to say because I want to sound egotistical, but not seeing the beauty of myself for so long, and seeing it go, wow, you know, the release. So I think there's something in the delta between those two that brings tears. And then also just in the raw beauty. You know, like I really am proud of myself. I really do love who I am. And I can be moved to tears looking into another's eyes, so I have that same sensation with myself. So I see you. I accept you. I appreciate you. I love you. And last, I set you free. And, you know, Stephen Covey writes, I'm sure you read 7 Habits, you know, You can't love another more than you love yourself. I was a little bit late to this party. I'm 35, right? And so it's really true. You'll notice all your relationships, your business, your relationship to your body, your health, all these things will naturally get better when you cure the real disease. Those are symptoms. The real disease is not loving oneself. Almost always. You start to love yourself, like you don't want to put poison in your body. You want to work out because I love myself. Of course I love this body. Of course I'm going to take care of it. And you're not manipulating other people to give you validation or love because you have it already. I was reading Louise Hay. She said, your security is not in your bank account or your investments or your spouse or your family. Your security is in your ability to connect to the cosmic power that runs this universe and is you. And so I just love that, man. And I'm a student of it right now, but that's where people should start is really accepting and loving the self and watch the magic that unfolds. Watch it unfold.
There's so many different places I could take this, but one place is, what does it mean to accept oneself? And I realized 2 days ago what it actually means to accept oneself. To accept oneself is to look at one's insecurities and appreciate them. Because when you look in the mirror and you say, I'm a child of God and this is a beautiful being, it's like, yes, because you accept the full picture of your flaws, your imperfections. And when you don't look at those things, when you don't want to acknowledge them, when you don't want to say them to someone else, that is you not accepting yourself. So for you, what were the insecurities you needed to confront in order to fully accept yourself?
Well, as you do this work, you continue to find more and more of them.
Of course.
So for me, there was an insatiable need for attention. Mm-hmm. There was an insatiable need for validation from others on a macro level in my life where, look, I got a job where I get to go on stage and people chant my name. I don't think that's a coincidence. There was a hole there I was trying to fill up and it never did. It never did fill that hole up. Dude, as much success I've had in some areas of life, I had a supreme amount of stagnation in the area of passionate intimacy. Mm-hmm. There were patterns I was repeating over and over again in the areas of relationship. And these are all treasures. These are all treasures. They feel icky when you first discover, oh no, but they're really treasures and opportunities because, like you said, when you can look at it, the pattern, and all it is a habit. It's just a habit. It's not a disease. It's not something you're stuck with. I love therapy, but I hate therapy because we make identities out of our diagnoses, and we make identities, they become harder to change. So example in my life was I learned about attachment theory. So I'm reading the book and I'll go, oh, I'm boilerplate definition, avoidant attachment style, right? I'm everything I read in here, that's me. That's what I do. And that was my habit. That was my pattern. But I would say the words, yeah, I'm avoidant. Think about that. I am avoidant. What better way to stay avoidant than to keep saying, I am avoidant? And so now, I went to Tony Robbins conference. I learned incantations. Every day I wake up and I would say, I am faith. I am joy. I am love. I am faith. I am joy. I am love. And I'm avoidant? That doesn't fit on that list. I say, no. I'm not naive. I had avoidant patterns and habits. I'm now willing to change those because I'm cognizant of the pain and the stagnation it created in my life. And I'm responsible for my habits and patterns. So it's not ignoring. It's not ignorance. It's taking responsibility and going, hey, I created these habits, these patterns. I'm an adult now. You know, we can't point the finger at mom and dad anymore. I'm 35 years old, right? And I'm going to look at these habits. I'm going to change them. They're not my identity. And I don't care what the book says about whatever, like, and I'm not avoidant anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I change. So that's just one example, but we do that over and over and over again in our lives where we say, I am this, I am that. No, you're not. You have a habit that you've been practicing over and over and over again. And you need to create a new habit. And you can change any habit. And when you change the habit, you change your life. And this is something I've done over and over in my life. I can give you a million examples, but it works. And we can talk about those if you want, but it works.
I was listening to a podcast with you yesterday where you said a belief is just a thought you've repeated over and over again.
Yeah. That's Abraham Hicks. Yeah. In that book Sean gave me, a belief is a thought repeated over time. So you just pick a new thought and you repeat that thought. And now you have a new belief. You have a new belief. You have a new space in which life can unfold for you. If someone said, I was talking to a buddy a couple of days ago and I said, you know, my life is beyond my imagination. When I walked across the U.S., I climbed the tallest mountain in the world. I've been nominated for a Grammy. I've performed in stadiums, and like I've written 12 or 13 albums now. And I caught myself because my life was beyond the 15-year-old Mike's imagination. That's true. But actually, my life is the exact size of my imagination. My life ends, the boundaries of it end exactly where my imagination is. And so if I want some area of my life to expand, I have to change my thoughts, which in turn change my beliefs, which will in turn change my habits, which will in turn change my actions, which will change my life. And so your life, one's life, is the printout of your beliefs. If you want to know what you really believe, what your real thoughts are, look at your life. Like, you want to know what you believe about relationships? Look at your relationships. If you want to know what you believe you're capable of in the area of your career, look at your life. Your life is a printout of your beliefs.
So often it takes someone close to us to show us the ways in which our beliefs are manifest. Like Big Sean for you was like, oh wow, like we have a similar skill level, and what he's doing with his life is so much greater than what I'm doing with my life.
Yeah.
But how?
Same skill level, bigger beliefs.
Yes.
So then bigger life.
Yes.
But the beautiful part is you become the light.
Yes.
And you touch other people. And him living his life made my beliefs bigger.
Right.
Now I have a bigger life because of him. And so someone listening might go, well, I don't have a Big Sean in my life. Right? How do we do that? Okay. Be the Big Sean for someone else. Oof. Be that for someone else. Be the example. Look, go try this stuff. Where you gonna lose? You know what I mean? Oh, you thought some different thoughts for a few days. It costs you nothing. I don't want your money. You know what I mean? Go try it out and see if it's true. That's my challenge to your listeners. You know, Go be that light and watch your life change.
So powerful.
I interrupted you.
No, I mean, you took the words out of my mouth. If someone doesn't have a Big Sean in their life, where do they go? What do they do? And you answered the question because we're on a similar wavelength right now of feeling it. Okay, so someone is saying, all right, like, I'm going to be the light. Okay, great. Now, and I'm not feeling the light right now. So what do I do?
I would start with that mirror work. Mm-hmm. And I would start in the morning. Playing some music and moving your body while doing that mirror work. And saying out loud 3 things you're grateful for. Mm. We love to get caught in how. Mm. That's where you really ask me how. It's like, what is that exact strategy or technique? I would first begin by doing, so those are a couple ideas. Yeah. But I would do something, whatever that is for you, that changes your physiological state and mood of being. I used to believe that if I woke up in a drudgery mood, that I just had to ride that out until it was over. And I would wait for life to give me some thing to be happy about. And my smiles were always dependent on my circumstances. What I've come to learn is that my circumstances are dependent on my smiles. And no matter what mood you're in or you're thinking about or you wake up in, it's actually quite easy to change the mood. So one of the easiest ways is move your gosh darn body. So for me, like I'm in the morning, I'm going like, what do you do when you win a game or something great happens? You go like this. I do this every morning.
Hands up.
I do this while I'm looking in the mirror. I see you. I love you. I'm telling my body that I won. We just succeeded. I'm on the vibration of success every day. And still to this day, Danny, a lot of times I wake up and I'm like, dude.
Why?
Because I practiced that habit for 30 years.
I see.
And it's slow. It's going away. But I beat it every day. Yeah. I wake up and I put on that song of blessing and I'm doing the thing in the mirror and I'm breathing and I'm going this and in 10 minutes, I'm a different person. And I go, depression, I beat you again, motherfucker. I beat you again. And it's like, I'm glad the feeling still comes. I get to practice beating it every day. And so it's incredible. I mean, I'll give you listeners another one. Like, if you're feeling any emotion right now that we would say is not the best ever, anxiety, depression, even fatigue, right? They don't always have to be so heavy, but low levels of just, man, I don't really want to do this. Those low levels of resentment. We immediately start thinking of what do we need to change but we don't change ourselves first. So that one of the easiest ways and most portable ways to change our own state is the breath. The breath, you'll notice when you're angry or anxiety ridden or depressed, often you're not even really breathing. And often, if you are, it's very shallow. And so there's research in on this. You take a deep breath and do a good sigh. Yeah, like that sigh, that noise you make when you're like, oh yeah. Ah. Or you do another one just because it feels good. Ah. This is what you should do first. Before you start making calls, just moving shit around, or change your breath. Changing your breath is probably very low on your list of what I should do when I'm not feeling the light. It should be number one. So I breathe every day. I'm standing like this, right? When we're depressed, we're like this. I'm making sure the thumbs are kind of pointed outward, right? So the heart is open, right? And there's studies on this. Just doing this changes your sense of well-being. And I do that. I get like a tingling feeling in my head sometimes. It's like your brain, like, thank you for the oxygen, Thank you. So yeah, there's so many tools. Yeah. It's almost like Eckhart Tolle writes, everything is an invitation into the now. Yes. Even your pain, you feel annoyed or your pain, like use that as a reminder to come back to here. That everything is okay. That everything in my world is perfect, whole, and complete. And I'm on a miraculous journey. And part of being on a miraculous journey and an adventure of a lifetime, which you're on, and I'm assuming your listeners are, because you're on that. And so that's the people who are listening to you. Who wants to be on an adventure where there's not some challenges, right? I do. I mean, it doesn't mean they're fun all the time. It doesn't mean they're not hard. But they're challenges. They're not problems. They're there. They're happening. Byron Katie says life is happening for you, not to you. Those challenges are there to help you grow in some way. So one of my biggest lessons this year has been not numbing the pain. When I get challenged, I feel some pain. I want to feel it because it's pointing me where I need to grow. I had a relationship end in July. All this grief came up and sadness. I mean, I was spinning out, Danny. I was like, bro, I couldn't think straight. I was forgetting stuff. Like, I'm like, how am I going to do my job and do this work, go to the studio? I can't get my mind off us, Heartbreak, grief. I noticed almost immediately mind or my body, the lower part of myself wanted to numb this pain, didn't want to feel it. So I said, dude, like put on some porn and jack off, or call some girl up from your past to have anonymous sex. Anything to just take your mind off the pain or the feeling of the pain. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to do any of that. I'm not going to masturbate. I'm going to sit here in this pain and learn what it's trying to teach me. And I don't mean you have to do it on your own. I was like, I'm going to find the best grief therapist I could find, kind of great, right? And I worked through all this. The challenge was really there for me. And now I'm several months off of this experience. And I truly, truly, truly am so grateful it happened. I know that it happened for me because of the growth, the man I've become on the other side of it. And so that pain can really be a gift, I'm rambling.
No, you're not. You're saying exactly what you need to say at the perfect time. What was the moment of breakthrough in those therapy sessions with the grief counselor?
There were so many. You're so many, and often it's not a moment of breakthrough. Often it's gradual for me. I mean, sometimes it is. You have these big moments, and sometimes not. But a few of the breakthroughs I had, I mean, spotted one of these patterns I was doing in every relationship, and I had to go journal and look at each relationship from my whole life and go, what, and then look and go, wow, God, that's me, and then go, well, I'm done with that. I'm done with that. Now that I can see it, and only got to see it because it hurt. I was only looking because it hurt, right? I'm done with that.
Done with what?
This one pattern, I don't want to say exactly what it is because I feel like it may, I don't have the words to say it without it perhaps sounding disparaging towards someone else.
Understood.
And so that's it.
I just want people to understand for themselves if they're going through something similar or how they can identify that within themselves.
Sure. I mean, it was just a pattern I was doing in every relationship. You know, people know where you're dating someone new but this is the same relationship or the same kind of person. It was one of those. Yeah. It was one of those. And I also looked like I realized I didn't have the tools to communicate my anger, my fear, my sadness. I thought I only say the positive words, and if I'm feeling something negative, I gotta go figure that out on my own. Wow. But actually, it made a lot of distance between me and my partners, and not just in those kind of relationships, but also family and friend relationships. So I'm like, I gotta learn how to be a better communicator. And I had to learn how to process anger. Because I learned anger unexpressed becomes depression. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not somebody who blows up and screams at people, but I am somebody who would get sad.
Because you hold all that pain.
Correct.
And you take to the corner and you just cry about it.
Or not even. And it's just in there.
Just sits.
Yeah. And then you realize dude, why am I depressed? Well, that's why.
Anger unexpressed.
You never let the anger out. So I've just been learning healthy ways to let the anger out. I start boxing again. So sometimes I'll hit my pillow. Even when I don't know why, I'm I feel, especially as men, I think this is really important. I think we're so civilized, but also we're men, bro. We have that in us, right? And, you're inside all day. We're talking with podcasts. Sometimes you just want to flip a fucking table, right? Yeah. And so just creating healthy ways for me to let that energy out was a breakthrough. And then the communication part, learning nonviolent communication, that's been awesome.
What's that about?
Nonviolent communication is a 4-step process, and it's really simple. And it was written by a man named Marshall Rosenberg, who's from Detroit. He's since passed on. The premise of nonviolent communication is that we have universal needs to thrive, not to survive. We all know our needs to survive: food, shelter, etc. But to thrive in their program or their modality, they say we all have universal needs to have autonomy, needs to be understood, needs to be seen. Sometimes sometimes I'll say desire, whatever. And they say that every action you do is an attempt to meet one of these needs. And they just give you a framework for communication that's very simple. It gives you a higher likelihood of meeting your needs. The framework is this. Number 1, observation. So let's say I had an appointment to go to after this and I'm running short on time. I'll say, Danny, observation. I'm observing the time is 12:30 or whatever it is. The number 2 is emotion. I'm feeling worried I'm going to be late to my next appointment. Number 3 is need. I have a need to honor my word and to stay in integrity. And number 4 is request. How would you feel about ending the podcast in 5 or 10 minutes? So that's nonviolent communication. And the request is a request, not a demand. Meaning you could say no. Right? So
do you lead with
it's that order.
So you say each one?
Yeah.
In order?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the observation is the observation of facts. It's not a judgment. Hey, it's not, hey man, you always run late on our, I'm observing the time is this.
I want to read a quote from you, which is, your anger, your frustration, your sadness, often they're just a function of your love not being expressed. I think love is like water. It has to flow out. When it stands still, it becomes rancid and it becomes hate. It's a powerful quote.
Where did I say that? Was it email?
No. I think you said it on a podcast.
That's crazy. No, you know why it's crazy? It's because I actually I put those exact words on my new album. And I can't remember if I've put them out in the world some way, but I'm like, is he in my computer? But yeah, I believe that.
When I ask, what do you value the most?
Well, just to touch on the thing before, that feeling of there's more in me than I'm giving.
Yes.
I think a lot of people identify with this feeling, and certainly I have. And as my capacity as I grow, my capacity to love grows.
Yes.
And so I have to keep uncovering new ways to let it all out. And it's really important, and so when we aren't letting our love out and giving it, I really do believe that can cause sickness of the mind and the body. And I've experienced it, like I've experienced where why do I keep getting sick? And why do I keep getting depressed? And then figure out, like, okay. And often the tendency is to throttle down the amount of love you're giving to match the amount of love you think that you're getting.
Wow.
Right? Or to withhold the love because you worry, well, maybe if I give this to someone, they won't accept it and they won't really appreciate it. So I'll save it and give it to them at a later time, or I'll give it to someone else who gets it when I meet that person, And this just like is a recipe for sadness and depression. And I've learned that the hard way. I believe my purpose and many of our purpose is to give love, and the truth is you can never run out. The more love is not like money. Love is not like, if I give you $100, you have $100 more and I have $100 less, right? That's just a fact, right? But when I give you love, you have more love and I have more love.
This is so weird. I'm crying.
Yeah, I see. What's it opening up for you?
Well, I was talking to a girl 2 or 3 days ago, and she asked me, if I have insecurities, can you still love me? And I said to her what I felt was true at the moment, which was, if I love myself at 100 out of 100 and you love yourself at 20 out of 100, how are you supposed to receive the discrepancy of the 20 to 100? But it's not for me. There's no like, just because she's only at 20 out of 100 in her own mind doesn't mean that I can't give her all of it, all of the 100, even if she can't receive it. And that's what it opened up for me in that moment.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter that she's 20 out of 100. You can still love that person fully and love that 20. And it's not wasting the 80
No.
at all, which is how I felt 3 days ago. And I'm crying because I'm like, what the hell was wrong with me?
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah. When I think, this is the only way you actually know if a relationship is the right fit. You show up 100.
Yeah.
And then you assess. But if you only show up 80 or 20 of yourself, then how do you even really know? So you show up 100, you show up your full, beautiful self, and then you can actually see if it works,
But do you think that I was showing up 100 and I was given 100 of love, but I felt like if this was going to go somewhere in the future, then how could I love somebody fully who's only loving themselves at 20? Is that accurate? Is that not? I don't know.
There's two sides, right?
Always.
Well, let's just talk about you because she's not here.
I'm sure she's listening right now, but yeah. She's here, but
we just talk about you.
Yeah.
I believe that the only way is to not throttle down. And we all have insecurities. So I don't know you and your relate. I'm not a marriage counselor. I've never been married, right? So I'm not gonna pretend you should do this with your mind. I'm not gonna pretend to do that. You're gonna figure that out. But I do know that the only way to really know is to show up fully. Her receiving your love actually is not your job. All you can do is be the best version of yourself. And you got some insecurities too, like we all do.
Definitely.
And so any relationship is going to show you where those are. And so your job is to be the best lover you can be. And she'll do the same. And then you can assess, is this the right fit? But the essence, I think you heard it correctly. It's like it's not your job.
Yeah.
It's not your job to worry if the person is receiving it the right way or at optimal. Like, we're all human, right? Sometimes they're not. So they're like, man, fuck you. Like it's like
receive the love that I want you to receive it the way
receive
that
it now. It's like you just keep giving it, man.
Yeah.
And the more you do, the better it feels.
Yeah.
You have such a beautiful heart, and you care so much about becoming the best version of yourself you can be. And you don't have to overthink it,
So simple, right?
Yeah.
But living in it and doing the things that are appropriate in every moment to actually express that sometimes gets complicated.
Get rid of every moment. It's like, we're not going to get it right, bro.
We're going to get it wrong.
We're humans,
Yeah.
Our lives change, right?
Yeah.
Of course, like if you look back, if I was looking at your life story, and I'm not you, and I watched and if I got all the data and I got to see your mom and her childhood and your father and this and that and your childhood, like every mistake you've ever made, of course you made it. You were doing the best you can with the information you had at the time, and it's like, I just hope you and your listeners and me, we could give ourselves grace and maintain our vigor and desire to get the most out of life, be the best we can be. That's what we're talking about now. But at the same time, not let that become a way to judge ourselves and go, oh my God, I didn't, I wasn't just in that moment. It was just like, we can always assess, but we don't have to kill ourselves while we're doing it. I was with my buddy the other day and I was playing him my new album, and he's also a writer and producer, and I was trying to get his feedback, and he really liked the album and in particular the production, most of which I didn't do. I work with amazing producers. And he was like, man, I need to level up. He's like, I suck. And I don't know if he said I suck, but he was feeling like I sucked. All these people who produce these songs are better than you, all this stuff. And I want all of us, myself included, to find a way to honor that. In that moment, he felt a delta between where he feels he's at and where he feels he wants to be. And there's nothing wrong with that. And so I want us to be able to hold space and honor especially as men, man, that's masculine energy. It's like we live in a hierarchical thing. You know what I mean? It's like, we're going like this. And I want us to be able to honor that desire to improve and at the same time hold the 5 A's. I see you. I accept you. I appreciate you. I love you. I set you free. And I said to him, look, man, like I'm all about you going out crushing that. And we were in my house. I go, look at the wall. I got the picture of me on the summit at Everest. I'm like, I'm all about that shit, bro. I said, but you don't got to kill yourself while you do it. You're going to do it anyways. Like you're going to go in the studio, you're going to grind, you're going to YouTube, you're going to learn more skills, you're going to work with other people, you're going to assess, you're going to be inspired. And like, why tell yourself you're a piece of shit the whole time you're doing it? Like, Does that really help?
Yes. I was talking to a buddy yesterday or 2 days ago. He's like, we're running a marathon together in 2 weeks. And
let's go.
We'll have already run it at this point when this episode comes out. So congratulate us on that.
Congratulations on your marathon.
And so he's on the phone with me and he's like, dude, if I don't hit this specific time, I'm going to be so upset. I'm like, dude, you're going to run the marathon.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. And if you don't hit the time that you hit, how does that change you as a human being? It's like really think about that.
Yeah. Get all worked up, man.
If I don't make this Grammy, if I don't get this shit.
Yeah.
Like, dude, like it just, life. It is just flowing.
Yeah. I have a lyric on new album coming out. I said, when you hold too tight onto your own life, it'll eat you up alive. It'll eat you up alive.
So much of this is about taking the fist that's clenched and opening it up. Right?
Yeah. Or like, think of you're driving the car of your life. You're holding on the steering wheel. Yeah. Like, does it help you steer better if you're holding it like this? Like, are you a better driver? Are you stewarding your life like better when you're like, holy fuck? No, like, no, man. Like this. I have these periods of like where they're meditative after meditation sometimes, or even just working out, where I feel like I'm not even me. Like I'm not Mike Posner. I am the energy. Like I'm the hands that are controlling Mike Posner in the video game through the Matrix, right? And it's like I get to decide whether Mike does this or does that, or calls this person, or says thank you, or smiles at that thing, or takes that opportunity, or says no to that one, or eats that thing, or doesn't eat, or goes to bed this time. Like I'm just pushing the buttons, controlling this avatar. And so you try to do a good job playing the game, and sometimes you hit the wrong button. Like, but it's all good. Yeah. Do you ever feel like that?
All the time.
Yeah.
We're just living like as a third person perspective of like, I can do whatever the hell I want at any time. And it's all good if I hit the wrong button because I'm still here.
Yeah.
And I still love myself.
Yeah.
So Yeah, it's the removal, but also like it's like fun playing in the character, but we've been taught to play in the character. So like it's also fun to play above the character as well.
Yeah.
How has being a musician helped you become a better human being?
I think right off the bat, it gave me a place to put what at first was, I'm talking when I was a kid, angst, anger. And then as I got a little older, you know, I started when I was 8. As I get into my teens, my real deep sadness and pain. And it's a beautiful place to put those things. And often, like, I didn't know how to articulate them. And a lot of us musicians, actually, you meet them, and like a lot of us are actually introverts. And the reason we make music is because we have really rich inner lives, and they're hard for us to communicate. But with music, we have more colors on our metaphorical palette. We have the chords, we have the different sounds and the worlds and the textures we can create. And it's endless. And then we can actually, I'll use the word communicate, as opposed to say, we can communicate how we feel. Because we're using all of the music to communicate how we feel. Right? It's the same reason if I listen to the song The Blessing, if I just read the lyrics, it's not the same. But the lyrics with the melody and it comes together to articulate much more than most of us are able to in dialogue. Now, as I've become an adult, I've developed my ability to articulate with my words more. But still, there's like, dude, there's that emotion. Like, what is that? Or like, and you can express it in a different way. And so I think it's been incredibly important to me. I don't know where I'd be without it. I almost don't even want to think about that. As I've developed as an artist and a man, I've stumbled through trials and tribulations on how to articulate other emotions. Triumph, enthusiasm, inspiration, love, light. Hopefully at times the Spirit of God. And you know, these are all things that stretch you as an artist, especially when you're like me and you've written all these you're really good at writing sad songs. Like, dude, I don't feel sad. Like, this song I don't feel it. Like, how do I articulate and learning how to do that, but not in a corny way was a real like hurdle for me to jump over as a writer. And it's been incredible. And I think, you know, I'll steal from one of my dear friends, NQ, who you should talk to. He's one of our best poets in the world right now. And he says art is alchemy. So you have the opportunity to take your suffering and make something beautiful out of it. And when you do so, sometimes you get this byproduct like we had where you help someone else alchemize their suffering. And this is really like, this is a net positive thing for you and the world. This is a good thing. And you also have to be careful, he says, because when you get rewarded, like my most popular song I made the most money off of and got the most attention and fame from is I Took a Pill in Ibiza. What's the chorus? all I know are sad songs, sad songs. It's like real suffering in that song, man. Real suffering. And so we have to be careful, because when we get rewarded for doing the alchemy, we have to make sure that we're not actually creating suffering on purpose.
To connect with people.
To connect with people. That's, and NQ says that's not alchemy. Then you're just using suffering to make suffering instead of suffering to make beauty, right? So this is like a pitfall for artists too. You have to be careful of, right? Same thing. I got bit by the rattlesnake. Walking across America, get bit by the snake. I'm in the hospital 5 days. And what happens? Everyone starts taking care of me. I mean, I was out there like in hell grinding it out. Before I got bit, my feet were in incredible pain. My back, like, imagine I'd walked 1,797 miles. I get bit. Now everyone's taking care of me. Not only are like my friends and family waiting on me, cooking for me, but my heroes are all reaching out to me, DMing me. Bro, I saw your thing. I hope you feel better. I'm on mainstream news. So I'm getting rewarded. I'm becoming more famous for being hurt. So there's a little part in me that goes, let's stay hurt for a while, because you'll get more love. And this is like a very that's the genesis of a victim mentality, right? You have to be very careful not to let that voice take control of your life. Right? No.
How'd you catch yourself?
One is I pre-paved it, meaning I'm a little different, like in my visualization, and when I take on projects that are really intense, which are my favorite kind of projects. I like a goal that if I get it, it's going to obliterate all my other goals because it can change who I am. So when I'm about to do a project, like in that case, it was walking across America. I'm like, man, you could do all the like meditating you want, but something's going to challenge you. You're not going to walk 3,000 miles. Something's going to happen. So I visualized challenge. Like, I visualized, if I break my leg, what will I do? And I just went through. I said, if I break my leg, I'm going to heal, and I would go back and I would finish. And I saw myself doing it. And I visualized myself being successful too, like getting to the ocean, strong, healthy. That's important. But also, if you're taking on something really, it's going to stretch you, I encourage one to visualize how you're going to react to hardship when it comes, not if it comes. Don't just hope it doesn't come. And then when it comes, we say, it wasn't meant to be. It wasn't meant to be is new age for I'm giving up. I'm giving up. So it's like, I don't care if it's meant. I make it meant to be. So fast forward back to when the snake bit me. I pre-paved. I'd already visualized. I didn't break my leg, but I got bit by a poisonous snake. So I know I'm going back to walk 1,000 more miles. And I didn't have to. I had the best reason to quit of all time, which was really an excuse. But it was such a good reason. Got bit by a poisonous snake, almost lost my foot, that if I did quit, most people probably wouldn't even think I was a quitter. It'd just be a cool story with a badass ending. But, it's like I wasn't doing it for most people. I knew for me to become the version of me I was proud of, I had 1,000 more miles to go. And so that's the best part of the snake bite. Went back, boy. Went back, boy.
Take me through that moment of you going back to the place that almost killed you.
Scary. You know, I was having nightmares about snakes. I didn't want to go back. And it was uncomfortable walking across America. It really hurts. It really hurts physically. And when I got hurt, although that leg was in pain, the rest of my body actually started to feel so much better. Now I'm in a real bed. I'm in air conditioning. So it was scary. And there was an adjustment period. I remember I went back to that spot, but man, we talk about like going dark, you know, or Goggins mode. I was in kill mode when I went back. You know, some bad words coming out of my mouth. You know, and that's the mode. Like most of my friends, they never see that. They never see Mike on Summit Day on Everest. And that's okay. I mean, you need to bring that out every day. You know.
Yeah. But it's also important not to suppress it, as we found out today.
Yeah, I mean, yes. And I'll make a distinction between just anger and then like this mode of like, I'm fucking going this way. And God bless whoever the fuck gets in my way.
Yeah.
Or whatever gets in my way. Because I'm going. And like nothing is going to stop me. Nothing is going to fucking stop me. Yeah. And like the snake bit me, great. Fuck yeah. Now, the story is even just crazier now.
Good. As Jocko would say.
Good. Like, so all these teachings and these modes of being, right? I've probably presented a few here while we've spoken, and your other guests have other. And our other Jocko, right? They're all good. It's all good. No one way or one teaching is going to solve everything for your whole life. And anyone promising that is trying to take your money. These are all good. The key is knowing when to bring out the right part of yourself. If I bring out that fucking soldier part of me, I call that part snake bite. Now. And I had to bring it out a lot training for Everest and being on Everest. If I bring out snake bite on a first date, that date's not going to go well. Right? So that's a silly example, but it's really a mastery of these different tools. They're tools and modes of being. And if you get the order, like you could develop all the parts of yourself, but if you get the order wrong, your life's going to be messed up. Yeah, it's knowing when is appropriate at the right time when you're talking with someone, what to bring out and what not to bring out. And so that's just, another subtlety that's important. But yeah, when I went back, dude, I was in kill mode. And that's when I started thinking about, it was then, and I had the Rocky Mountains. And it was like, that was supposed to be the hardest part. You're at higher altitude, all this stuff. And I came back from the snake bite. I got up and over those. And I was like, dude, I can do fucking anything. I can do fucking anything. I thought I was like a skinny Jewish kid that sits in rooms with no windows and writes pop songs. Bro, nothing can fucking stop me. And that's when Everest started transforming from an idea in my head to a plan. It was from that pain. No snake bite, no Everest, for sure. Yeah.
Wow. Because it unlocked a different part of yourself.
It was overcoming it. It was when I overcame that, I healed from that. I went back. I decided to go, but bro, I didn't have to go back. Most people that know me, they don't even know I went back because the snake bite was bigger news than me finishing.
Wow.
Because it's or what do they say, blood cells or whatever. It was that. So people that don't follow my story as closely, which I don't expect anyone to follow my story. I'm not like upset. But people who don't follow my story as closely often just know the snake, but I don't know I finished, right? But it was undergoing the snake bite and hearing that voice going, bro, you can stay here. You don't have to go back. And fucking going back anyways. Who the fuck even decide? Dude, who gets nominated for a Grammy and then goes, you know what I'm going to do? Walk across the continent of North America. Who does that? And then who gets bit by a poisonous snake and goes, yeah, I know some people think this wasn't meant to be. Fuck that. I'm going to go back, walk 1,000 more. Like, so you got to imagine, I come back from this snake bite and I'm going up and over the Rockies. I've now walked over 2,000 miles. I'm like, who the fuck am I in a good way? Mm-hmm. I am so much bigger than I ever thought. I'm capable of so much more than I ever gave myself credit for. I can do anything. And when I'm dreaming about Everest in that moment, it's not a naive fantasy. It's going, this shit I'm doing right now is the hardest thing I've done in my life. And I want to do something harder. Everest's going to be harder than this. I've never climbed a mountain. I've never held an ice axe. I've never worn crampons. I want to belong on Everest. I don't want to just show up there. I want to belong there. And the journey from me finishing, I'm not even done with my walk, finishing this walk and going from someone who's never climbed a mountain to belonging on Mount Everest, it's nothing but pain and suffering that whole way. And I'm going, I want to do that. I want to do that next.
Do you remember the first moment you thought about Everest?
I mean, I think I've thought about it like throughout my life.
Oh, really?
I think actually most people do. A lot of people think about Everest. And you see movies. I mean, Everest has its own like crazy narrative, and there's Everest, the actual mountain, and then there's Everest in pop culture, and that story that's told and not told, and so I think. I mean, have you ever thought about Everest?
No.
But you know what it is.
Yeah, of course.
So it came into your awareness at some point.
Yeah, and I also think this is an important point that when you walked across America. And you inspired me so much. I was like, that doesn't call to me. And the importance of figuring out in your own consciousness what calls to you. Right?
100%.
That's like a very important thing to realize because you're chasing someone else's dreams that aren't even yours because you like that person.
Great distinction. Great distinction. Yeah, I don't want anyone to go like make a copy of my bucket list and then just start checking it off.
You know, people do that because they want the feeling of being Mike Posner.
We've all been guilty of that in our own ways.
Absolutely.
Right. Me too. But yeah, I think it's a great distinction. You know, the point is not to follow someone else's path. In fact, like my whole journey was I was on this path of like the traditional artist, which was make an album, go on tour, make an album, go on tour, make an album, go on tour. There's nothing wrong with that, but it just felt incongruent to me, felt inauthentic to me. And I felt like I want to get off of someone else. I don't even know who made that. Was that like Frank Sinatra made that path? You know, what was that path? Elvis, like, but I don't want to do it right now. At least. So like, I'm not saying I don't want to play shows ever again, but I'm called to create my own thing. So people ask me, like, who's the artist you like really look up to their career? I'm like, I'm inspired by many artists, and I've borrowed bits and pieces from many artists' stories, but the artist whose career I most look up to is Mike motherfucking Posner. The artist that got nominated for the Grammy and then walked across a continent, then climbed the tallest mountain in the world, all the while putting albums out, telling the story through music. Like, if I wasn't me and I was looking at another guy doing that, I'd be like, that guy is amazing, you know? And so I just want to be amazing to myself. I want to be the version of myself that I'm proud of. You've heard me say all this stuff. I want if someone say, who's your hero? I want to be able to say me, right? And so what is that for you? What is that for your listener? Like, like, what could you put in your life experience that would make you go, wow, I can't believe I did that? And that's the trophy from these experiences. I'll sometimes, another part of my morning routine, I'll put in there, I'll go like, dude, you climbed fucking Everest, man. Like, it's insane even to me. I can't explain the pride. That's the trophy. They give you a certificate if you go up and you come all the way down. Without the helicopter, you gotta like prove you were up there and all stuff. And that's not the certificate, man. It's knowing that I had an idea myself and I did something that so transcended that idea that I didn't even recognize myself in a good way.
And I can't help but notice that the life of this journey started with death. Avicii, your father. That's how it began.
Yeah, death and pain.
Death and pain was the start of a of a life that you were proud of. What is death?
Death is birth. You look in nature, things die. And literally when a tree dies, like bacteria go in it and things grow out of it. The materials are used to make life. I think we do the same thing. And I think during the course of our lives, things die. And they die to make space for newer things. And that's certainly been true of every major breakthrough in my life has come out of some real pain. The walk I started because I couldn't keep going with the path I was on. It had become so stale to me that it was unbearable. I took a pill in Ibiza. Read the lyrics. Like, they're all about pain and suffering. And that was my biggest breakthrough professionally. Everywhere I look, like my breakthrough most recently of loving myself comes from not loving myself. So it's just a reminder to anyone listening. You and I we're meeting and we discuss on and off cameras. Like, we're actually in really beautiful chapters right now where we both feel like this is the best weeks of my life. This has been the best year of my life. And these weeks are like the best, even best weeks of this year. But maybe someone's listening and that's not the case, right? And you asked about this earlier. Where do they start? I have a sticky note and I put on my mirror. I see every day. It says, pain and an arrow leads to breakthroughs and abundance. If you're in the chapter of pain, despair right now, God's getting you ready for something big. It's not going to last forever. It never does. You look back at all your other periods of despair, they didn't last forever. You overcame those. You'll overcome this. And along the way, you're going to learn something. Your job is to learn. Like, ask, what am I supposed to learn from this? Asking that question doesn't make the pain disappear. No. But it gives a purpose to the pain. And it gives you a direction to start moving in. You used to move in that direction. You used to build. And then all of a sudden, you get to this point where you look back, you go, I learned so much from that pain, and I dealt with that in such a way that I'm proud of, that I am happy that happened. Thank you, God, for that pain and that despair. And I'm excited for all your listeners for what they do. Like, you got despair, you got pain, right? You got rocket fuel. That's what you got. You got rocket fuel to make change, to change who you are, to change your life. It's as much as we like to think, you and I right now, it's harder for us to make changes, like big, deep changes.
No.
Than someone who's in despair right now.
And that's what I was just about to say. If you are feeling good with life, what is the pain you are choosing right now? I'm running a marathon. I'm doing 20 miles tomorrow.
There you go.
I'm like, I cannot wait to go to that pain, because what am I going to do? You have to use the good energy that you're feeling for life and actually put yourself in a difficult situation if life isn't handing it to you.
Yeah.
Because that is your growth.
Yeah, we train for the pain that we don't choose by choosing pain when we don't have to.
Yeah. So tell me about your relationship with your father after he's left his body.
It's been really interesting. For a long time, he's in my dreams, like all the time. Like almost every night. Especially while I was on the walk. He's always in my dreams. Often he wouldn't be sick in the dreams. He'd be like a healthy person. My dad had brain cancer, so he was like bedridden for a long time before he passed on. In the dreams, he would be healthy. He would be playing like... I really feel like love coming into my life. I'm not a father yet, but I know I will be. And I think my relationship with him will really deepen then. I feel there's an immense amount of gratitude for him. My dad was, he was really a lover, man. He was really there. You know, like, I talked to one of my buddies, Jay Will. And I remember I was like, you have moments where you, I don't know if you experienced like you're losing someone like that in your life, but you just have moments where you just cry. And for me, it's unexpected. Chaplain Kevin says, the hospice chaplain says, the only thing you can count on grief to do is to surprise you. So it's like, for me, you know, at my dad's funeral, I didn't cry. I was like, wow, what a beautiful celebration of his life. 6-8 months later, I was with my mom and she's checking her voicemail, and she played on my dad's voice, old one. My dad's voice came on. Yeah, I just lost it. And I can remember being on mountains, like really. I remember the first time I was with my coach, Dr. John. We were training for Everest. It was early in the train. We climbed a winter summit of Grace. It's 14er in Colorado. It's pretty easy in the summer, but in the winters, you know, especially it was really cold that day. It was like negative 25 or something Fahrenheit. And we got frost on our eyes and stuff, you know. And we got to the summit and I just started weeping. I said, John, wait, what is that, man? Like, do people cry on the summits a lot? He's like, oh yeah. So yeah, I can remember coming off of Blanca and Bear. What was that thing? Little Bear. That day, we were coming off the mountain. I just couldn't stop crying. And John's like, man, you're all right? And I was like, yeah, man, I just miss my dad. I still miss him, you know? I want to live a life that he's proud of. And he is proud of me. And I think of him a lot when I see butterflies. My great aunt Shirley wrote a poem saying Johnny was a butterfly. So I think of him a lot when I see butterflies, and it just changes. I don't think he's gone. It just changes. You know, even if you don't have a spiritual practice, even if you're just a materialist like I was, still, I'm chocked full of this guy's DNA. Like I am him. I'm like some like version of him. You know, where does he begin and where do I end? You know, so he's with me. He's in my heart. I knew him so well. I kind of know what he would say to any question I have. And so I think it just continues to deepen in different ways.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
What are you most excited about fatherhood?
You're just participating in life. Mm. You know, I think it's a very natural thing. We're supposed to die. We're supposed to create life. And I love this idea of, you know, each generation gets more and more beautiful. I mean, that's certainly true in my family. As I've learned more about my mother and her childhood and the changes she made in our lineage. You know, the mother she was, I mean, she didn't have that. She didn't have the experience I had. I used to think my mom had the same childhood I had. Nope. It's way harder. Way harder. And I know I can just continue that trend, you know, of just healing. You know, when I say making each generation better, I don't mean monetarily. In fact, I think about, like, sometimes I'm like, oh, you know, I want to sound like a douchebag, but it's like, sometimes I'm like, dude, maybe I should make less money. I don't want to, like, spoil the shit out of my kids, you know?
Have you read Die with Zero by Bill Perkins?
I just read it.
Of course.
I just finished that book.
So that's why that thought's in your head.
No, I already had that thought.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He doesn't really talk about that part. He's like, he says if you want to give money to your children, do it before you die. He's and in general. He's like, if you want to make an impact with your money, like, do it before you die.
And you're just like, no.
I just don't know. I don't think I want to have trust fund babies, you know?
Yeah.
But
what about trust funds of love?
That's what I mean. That's the point I was making. It's like, we're making each generation better. I mean, doing all the work we're talking about of seeing the habits, noticing the bad habits, fixing them, and then you don't pass those on, you know? And each generation gets better. So that excites me, you know? That excites me.
I've realized recently that you can see the soul's evolution in each generation. Like, you can't really see the patterns that you fix, but you can see, oh, you compare that to your mom, you compare that to her mom, you compare that, and it's like, oh, wow, that's the growth that we're really here to do and we're really a part of. And you can really only see that often in each generation. So I view that as part of the work that I'm doing, and I view these podcasts as notes to my grandchildren.
Dope.
And it's like,
I love that.
Your songs too, right?
Yes.
Your songs are, this is your grandpa at this age. Listen, don't listen, but this was what was going through my mind and heart at this time. And how much would I give to hear my grandpa talk when he was 28?
Yeah, dude.
Are you kidding? I'd be the biggest fan. So I think we all have that opportunity if someone you love is alive right now that's connected to you, please interview them. Please talk to them. Please record some of their stuff, because I guarantee 2 generations from now, 3, 4, 5, they might want to hear about some of the versions of the normal conversations we have are the gold and the treasure that people seek for so long. So
I couldn't agree more. And Thich Nhat Hanh says compassion is understanding. So really have compassion for someone you got to really understand. And a lot of us just starting with our parents, you know, we got resentments or this kind of thing. And it's like, find out what their childhood was like. Find out. Ask what their life was like when they were a kid. And you might find a new understanding, and you might find your resentments vanish.
Yeah. One of my friends asked me, how does your father see you? And I said, well, he sees me through running, sometimes through the podcast. And she said, how do you see your father? I was like, fuck, I don't. And if I want to connect with him in that way, I need to first see him in all the ways. What was his childhood like? Where's he at his best? How would I treat him if this was Mike Posner in front of me? Right? And asking ourselves, who's the person you admire or you look up to? And I look up to all people. I look at all people as Mike Posner, but my dad, I can't look out as Mike Posner. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so treating people very close to you like the best versions of themselves and the most free versions of themselves. And who would they be if you would love and pour into them? To me, that's what life's all about.
Yes, 100%. 100%. I couldn't agree more, man. Yeah. I get to see my mom in a couple of days, so I'm excited.
How has that relationship transformed you? The note at the end of Keep Going from your mom is just like so good. Do you have an Aunt Susie?
Aunt Becky.
Aunt Becky.
Yeah. No one gets hurt.
No one gets hurt, yeah.
What was the question? How has it changed?
How has that relationship transformed?
It's been really cool. It's not without challenges, for sure. You know, moving the relationship from habits, right? She got her habits of being my mom, and I had my habits of being a kid. So I became an adult. Oftentimes, I think, you know, a lot of my friends had the same thing. Like, dude, when I go see my mom, I start acting like I'm 14. And then she starts acting like I'm 14, you know, and then we would fall into. So we've done a lot of work, you know. We've done some therapy together and created a new chapter of our relationship. And boy, has it really been worth it, man. And the last trip I did, I took 40 people to Iceland. I hosted a retreat there. I do like one retreat a year called Adventures with Mike, and I'll take people and try to create a life-changing experience for all our members. But anyways, I got to bring mom this last time, and it was awesome. We both saw each other in new ways. My mom was like, she was just unleashed. She was like doing we did a zip line, and my mom's like on the zip line, like ripping it. And then we did this like glacier hike where we wore crampons and I had ice axe, and my coach from Everest, Dr. John, he was there. And then like my mom, I was just like not expecting her to do all that kind of crazy stuff, like adventure-y stuff. And she was like, I'm doing all of it, you know? And she's got the ice, like a helmet and the ice axe. And then she's with Dr. John. I'm like, why are these worlds collide? Like, what's happening? And she's like, so I just got to see her in like this new, like in a new light. And she got to see me in a new light because she's seen me do a million concerts, but she's never seen me create and hold space for the group, because I'm a certified Wim Hof instructor as well. So I'm leading the breath work and doing the kind of work we're talking about, or creating the space for people to do the work on themselves. So she'd never seen me facilitate in that way before, lead a breath work session and these kind of things in a whole week. And so it was really pretty cool for our relationship. So I'm excited to see her in a few days.
That's such a interesting piece of advice. It wasn't given as advice, but I'm thinking about it. It's like, take the people in your life to a new environment and they'll see you differently. Never considered that before.
Yeah, it was other people too.
Yes.
Like it was all other people that neither my mom, I knew some of the people. My mom didn't really know any of them. And they're all coming up to me, dude, my favorite person on this trip is your mom. I'm so happy your mom is here. Like, dude, your mom talked to me. It really helped me. I'm like, it's incredible, It was awesome. You're crushing it.
It's like the people closest. I mean, the Ram Dass quote of "You're only if you want to see if you're enlightened, just spend a weekend with your parents."
Yeah,
it's like, and so really, the way to really heal is to really heal those closest relationships with you, and it's like that is transformative, and that's how you change your life. It's like you can meditate for 21 days, but if you still going into the same patterns that you deal with your mom when you were 14, it's like you're still the 14-year-old version of yourself in some way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anything else on closing or opening up a new chapter with the people closest to you in your life that you held resentment towards or had a contentious relationship with?
I think being able to say sorry, take ownership. We all make mistakes, especially in relationships that are that long. I'm 35. My relationship with my mom is 35 years long. We both made mistakes in that relationship. Like, if you have a relationship that long, you're gonna mess some stuff up. So I think really being able to. There's a book by Ira Boyk. I think it's called The Four Most Important Things. It's about what you should do before someone dies, but it's applicable all of our life. I don't know if I remember them all, but one is, to say sorry, to get forgiveness for what you need to get forgiveness for. And the second one is give forgiveness. The third is to give love. And the fourth is to say goodbye. I think we can hit those in the show notes. We'll see, test Posner's memory. I think. And so look, man, I think like just own up, where you made a mistake, be an adult. Look, I'm really sorry. I made that mistake. I don't give a screw. What the fuck am I doing? Take responsibility for you made mistake, and then give forgiveness as well. I mean, ask for forgiveness, get forgiveness, give love. Those are pretty good. Gotta let people off the hook sometimes. Love is accepting someone fully for who they are and who they aren't. And so, gotta give our moms, our brothers, our sisters, our partners, permission. They're who they are. Who they are. A lot of us on our path, like me and you are, we go home and we go, Mom, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to stop eating this. Like, dude, no one asked you for advice. And Louise Hay says, like, I coach my clients, I leave my friends alone.
Love that.
Someone asks you for advice, you can give it to them, or you can ask. You open to hearing some of my thoughts on this? Other than that, man, you're just with another child of God, beautiful, miraculous being. You just appreciate them for what they are, man. And you can do a lot. You can do a lot with pre-paving. Just like seeing yourself with that person, having fun, seeing yourself not holding on so tight, seeing you guys laughing, doing all this kind of visualization work in your mind. And you get there and you just, your mind wants to do what it knows. So you've practiced that, and it's what you end up doing. You can do a lot with that.
This podcast feels like it's been a nervous system cleansing. That's how it feels for me. A lot of space, a lot of thoughtfulness, a lot of love. I cried with you. I laughed with you. It's been a magical, magical journey.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
I'm really grateful to have someone I really look up to, and also someone I look to, and be able to look them in the eyes and be really grateful for them exceeding my expectations. Because, we go into these things and say, I have no expectations. Bullshit. I expected this to be amazing. And it exceeded my amazing expectations.
Thank you, bro. I'm sure you had a few not go that way. I've had some like that in my life too. Yeah. Like, man, I wish I didn't meet that guy. It was better before. But dude. But no, on a serious note, thanks for the space you've created, and who you are, how you're showing up in your life, and the enthusiasm, is contagious for all your listeners. And I think like you're making a real difference for a lot of people. And so keep at it, man. It's great.
Thanks.
It's great. And it's a gift to the guests too, to hear those reflections back. We need to hear that too. A lot of times you're an artist, you're a writer, spend a lot of time alone in rooms. That's what I think about when I know we're ending, cut this off, it's too long. Yeah. When I see someone like John Mayer play, most people think of John Mayer, the artist, the guy, the performer, the amazing storyteller, right? The jokester. I see him. I think of a guy alone in a room for years, and still to this day, I don't. I've met him once, but like, I know for sure he spends a lot of time alone with a guitar, and he does that so we can get the gift of him playing the guitar. And so, it's just, all that to say, like, for people like me who are often in our own world creating, we're alone. It's a solo job a lot of the time. To get that reflection back is meaningful, and I appreciate that. I do.
Yeah,
and it gives me inspiration to do more.
I appreciate you saying that, and also, it's like so often, I'm sure you feel like people are reflecting you, where it's like an idolization of a version of you that's doesn't exist. Like when someone, like the story about, there's a story from, I was listening to you and Aubrey Marcus yesterday about Don Miguel Ruiz and his son comes to him when he's in a coma. He wakes up from the coma and his son starts freaking out of like, my dad's alive, my dad's alive, my dad. People must come to you often with like, Mike Posner, that energy of like, and Don Miguel Ruiz tells his son to leave the room and come back when he can just be. And so it must be interesting to, for people to see you in a specific light of idolization, I guess is my point, and how that's probably not a clear reflection or a clear mirror.
It's crazy. I hear you're empathizing with me, but actually my experience has been pretty great.
Amazing.
It's been like pretty.
I love that.
I mean, when my career started, I was, I walk on stage and the girls will scream crazy. So when I first started, I would get that. I was, my early 20s, and people would come up to me and girls would scream, it's you. So, but now I think as a function of one, who I've become, which dictates what I've shared with the world, I get something else back now, which is often just very sweet. Yeah. And it ranges, sometimes it's like, man, really helped me. And sometimes people often don't even ask for a picture, they ask for a hug instead now.
Wow.
So my experience has been, actually, I feel very seen a lot. I mean, we're on this magical wave, you and I, right now, where I feel people recognize me in the street or whatever, which isn't over the top. Like, I live a relatively normal life. I can go to the grocery store, but when I do get recognized, I feel actually very seen. I feel very seen and understood.
It's like,
and there's a lot of like real love there that goes both ways. So it's a good thing. I feel blessed, man.
It's like the deeper the human,
but
is the more deep the interactions that you present, and the more deep interactions come back to you.
How long have you been doing this?
3.5 years.
So you must get some of the same thing.
The interactions are so beautiful.
Yeah.
So beautiful.
Yeah, totally.
Because people are interested in meditation, or they're interested in the deep questions about themselves. And it makes the interactions like a joy. I'm like, these are the people listening to me? Like, thank the heavens.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel really blessed, similar to you, I guess.
Yeah.
And I guess when it's so interesting, because when you're presenting music for an audience just to be famous, just to get that hit song, just to resonate broadly, you're going to get the idolization.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Yeah. And that was the shift.
Yeah.
Because I was on that path. Like, let's not sugarcoat it.
Yeah.
I was on that path. I was like, I had the Louis Vuitton belts and the fucking, I was out there doing that, man, for years.
Do you think you need to go down that path to realize it's not right?
I did.
Yeah.
But we're all on our own path.
Yeah.
We really are. We really are. So some people are just, I would say no, not for all people, but some people do. I did. I don't feel like I have to climb Mount Everest again, but I had to climb Mount Everest to feel that way. Seriously. I had to climb Mount Everest before. My mom was like, what? Like, people in my life were like very upset for obvious reasons. I was like, I have to do this. I don't feel like I have to do that anymore. But I had to do it to now feel like I don't have to. So that's just, maybe that's my own boneheaded way of going through life, but that's been my path, bro.
It's a pretty good path. I asked you before, what are the things you value the most? And we never got around to it. And I'm curious.
God, my connection to spirit, to God, it's number one. Laughter, my family, and just showing up to fulfill what I believe is my purpose to be here.
What's that purpose?
For me, and I think one's purpose can change and maybe should change different chapters, but for me, I see, hear, feel, and know my purpose is to give love and to be a kind artist who creates transcendence for myself and many others. And so I just, I want to do that. I'm doing it, and I want to just do it. I want to do it to the max. I want to wring it out.
Did it for me.
Thank you, bro.
Before I let you go, we have to tackle the challenge piece.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
We could do some push-ups.
No.
Pop our shirts off and do some burpees.
The challenge piece of this episode is the place you want someone to take this conversation and actually do something with it in their own life.
Okay.
You gave a bunch of challenges, honestly, throughout this.
Yeah.
But is there any one specific that comes to mind for you do the whole thing? You listen to the whole time we've been together. What are you going to do from it?
I think that if I would pick one, do that mirror work, the 5 A's, which I morph. So it's just to reiterate, is I see you. I accept you. I appreciate you. I love you. I set you free. You look in your, put whatever song on, opens your heart, and look in the mirror and say that 15 times. And it's not the number, it's how much you feel it. Give that a whirl. Give that a whirl.
It's good. It's a great challenge. I'll be doing that for sure later today. And where should we send people to connect with Mike Posner some more?
Connect with Mike Posner. You can come on down to Oh man. You can connect with me. Starting my own podcast, Mike Posner Podcast. You can follow me on Spotify. And MikePosner.com, Instagram, Mike Posner. But I would say the number, like, if you want to really get to know me, go deeper with if any of this stuff resonated, I say listen to actual music. So I would say listen to Keep Going. We talked about that album. And I would say, check out my podcast and stuff on YouTube and wherever you do podcasts. Go deep. We're going deep. And just go be the light, man. Like you said, turn the podcast off. Go have some damn fun. Let's go. Keep going.
Mike Posner, you're a legend.
Thank you, brother.